Like A Dragon Gaiden is one of the more peculiar entries to the Yakuza franchise. Not only does it take interesting creative liberties with classic characters, but it also simultaneously embraces the history of the franchise and maintains the same charm that made it so popular in the first place. Kazuma Joryu, shines brighter than ever before, ironically reminding the audience that the Dragon of Dojima continues to be an inspirational pillar of strength, even in death, with cool new features like agent style, literally turning Kiryu into James Bond with the power of the US Defense Department, and a nice and slightly condensed story that is not drawn out for hours. Yakuza 5. It gives Kiryu's arc some much needed grounding in humanity. So with this I figured, fuck it. Let's see if I can beat Like A Dragon Gaiden with only the agent style. The rules I made for myself are simple. I cannot use the Yakuza style at all, and I also decided to not use items during boss battles to keep it interesting. I can tell you right now, this challenge was very interesting. It wasn't too hard, but it was mostly annoying at points and grindy at others. But it was still mostly fun. But honestly, with those rules out of the way, let's just get on with the damn challenge. Our journey commences with the forgettable drunk chick needing some assistance out of the club. Through her, we are then reintroduced to our boy Kiryu as he sports a swank two-piece suit and glasses that show he's still clinging on to what's left of his 40s. Then we are met with some generic hooligans for about the upteenth time in the series that serve as a tutorial section for us after about 5 minutes of Kiryu trying to spare them an ass whooping. Kiryu, and about every Yakuza fan ever since whatever game they started on, knows that this shit's gonna be fucking cake, and the clobbering commences. After the aforementioned ass clobbering, the realistic intro ensues. And shortly after a bunch of exposition dumps, we find ourselves at a shipping dock, needing to stand completely still. I obviously do that for about 10 seconds until my ADHD kicks in, but my stimulation savior comes in the form of an asshole that name drops me during a secret agent mission. So naturally I turn Jit into a fucking pretzel, and before I get to finish him, a black van pulls up with a bunch of jabronis in ski masks. After strong-arming the Shiesty squad, one of the members susses me out, and not wanting to serve another 10 years as someone's prison bitch, I grab my homie and we get the fuck out of Dodge. The agency was low-key pissed that I ran out of the mission kinda like a bitch, so they send me to Yokohama for some reason. During this time I do a bunch of exposition stuff, where I get introduced to new factions, get this kid's ball, and beat some dudes up with sunglasses and a Hannya mask that probably won't be important to the story. As I fight these angry nobodies, we get introduced to the Yakuza style, and it's apparent that they want you to use this style because they give the bosses extra health. And since this is a challenge, I can't use the new style, so I immediately switch off of it. Because I switch off of it, this fight proves to be a little difficult, but we managed to pull through. Salty that I whooped their ass immediately, they kidnap my bestie and threaten to kill his ass unless I join their shitty pyramid scheme. Kiryu reluctantly obliges their request and tells the agency is gonna rescue him. The agency pretty much tells me to go fuck myself, and that my homie's pretty much cannon fodder. Reasonably pissed, Kiryu decides to retaliate against the agency, and one of the toughest long battles in the entire game ensues. During this fight, you have to fight 4 agents with different gadgets as they try to stop you. The dude with the umbrella and the dude with the rocket launcher gauntlet gave me so much trouble for some reason. Probably because I don't do any damage right now, but I swear to God, the guy with the umbrella was so frustrating, and the fat dude with the fucking rocket launcher really pissed me off. But we get through it, begrudgingly. And after we beat the fat ass, we beat the dude with the gun, and we successfully escape, starting the next chapter and ending the intro. The chapter starts off with Sunglass Guy threatening my family on some real soprano Goodfellas shit. And he also wants me to fake my own death again, and Kiryu is justifiably pissed again. Mostly because the writers probably ran out of ideas. But anyway, he gives me some fucking tiger keychain and we're on our way to Sotenbori. Chapter 2 has a lot of setup for the rest of the story. Gameplay-wise is where the challenge really starts to get a little bit difficult, because some of these fights were designed to use both styles instead of just the one style like in Chapter 1. And because it's so early in the game as of this point, we don't have access to a lot of the side quests that gives us a lot of XP to upgrade our abilities. So, really, it's just a grind. So, in the meantime, I try to rake up some cash, trying to do some street fights for easy money, until we get introduced to fan service, the character, which opens up new avenues for us to grind, and to do sub-stories. After defeating some hoodwinks and hooligans, my journey sends me to the Coliseum, in which, admittedly, I get my ass handed to me on a silver platter. The fight with Ryuji is the worst fight in this game. I repeat, the worst. This motherfucker killed me upwards of 10 times. Probably more. Dude, I have a whole clip dedicated to Ryuji, fake-ass Ryuji Goda, whooping my ass for about 45 to 46 minutes. Fuck this! After relishing in the victory of defeating the deepfake, I decided it's probably best to prepare a little before the next upcoming long battle with Surino. And that's exactly what I do. After getting upgrades and getting some gear, I head to Surino's office, where I fight his little colleagues with ease. Relative ease. Unsurprising, his colleagues were actually harder than the actual boss fight itself, because I actually knew what I was getting into going in. But we eventually make it to Surino, and we kick his dog ass. And our homie's safe and sound. And we complete the fight with another exposition dump that completely turns the story on its head. So extreme to the point where Kiryu is forced to decide loyalty between the Daidoji, who constantly threaten his family, by the way, and the Yakuza, who obviously respect Kiryu because of his unwavering willpower. Kiryu, being the stubborn motherfucker that we all know and love, obviously chooses the least sensible option, because that's just what being a Yakuza is all about, or an ex-Yakuza at this point, whatever. Which leads to a massive brawl with the Daidoji agency. Right when the Daidoji and Hanua, whose ass I just saved, mind you, punish me for my own loyalty. When the plans and loyalties come crashing down like a house of cards, it makes you think, how is Kiryu really going to get out of this one, guys? How is he going to do it? How is he going to do it? Yeah, so we start the chapter by not dying because Kiryu is way too popular, and popular characters stand the test of time because they make money. So after the game gives us a reason why Kiryu needs to live and develop his plot armor even further than it already is. Plot armor. Money bags.
Yeah, that's what I would have did. I said earlier.
Just a casual plot armor-filled briefcase full of conventional $50 billion. The game finally lets us roam free and we're free to whoop more ass, get more upgrades, and spend our time how we please, because this chapter is grind time. And by grind time, I mean ram into herds of human wrestlers with my rocket boots, as the carnage yields me a bunch of money, buku bucks, and allows me to go full Sigma. But due to the sheer amount of high-octane secret agent hijinks occurring within the castle, and the leader, Jungkook, is jelly. You already know his zesty, masochistic ass wants a piece of the Kiryu scrap. He tells our new friend Glasses here to hand my ass over to him. But I don't swing that way, so I politely refuse. When I reject Bro's advances, he goes full incel mode and he decides to chase me down himself. But before that, he sends all his goons for me to wallop after mercilessly massacring all of his underlings. He finally catches up with me, and he has a few choice words for me that are honestly rather sus. We throw down, and I can tell you this fight with Nishitani here is not as hard as the first time I fought him, because this dude is mad fast, but I already knew that going in because I played this game before. And as long as you just keep dodging and just use the slowdown tactic, or the slowdown feature, excuse me, of the agent style when you have extreme heat mode, then this fight is honestly rather a breeze. It's not as hard as you think, especially with all the health upgrades I've been getting. But like I said, after a few tries, Nishitani goes down. And in order to match my freak in a last-ditch effort, shocker, he name drops me. And honestly, I'm just gonna let Kiryu explain how he feels about this.
Yeah, that's what I would have did.
So after I ghost evil Jungkook, we head back to Sotenbori with Akame. She asked me a really good question though about what we do now that Nishitani got punked on his own turf. In truth, I really don't even know myself, but the answer Kiryu gives her, basically he says that we essentially need to raise hell in order to draw him out even further in order to take control of the castle. And once we have the castle, that takes care of the one roadblock preventing the total dissolution of the Yakuza. Tsuruno calls to tell me he wants to be my sneaky link, but before I slide into his DMs, I need to do a little extracurricular stuff. At this point, every upgrade I get matters, because I've realized by now that the agent style doesn't really do shit for damage unless you got heat. So I figured I'd dump a lot of my points into health and damage to compensate for that. So after I finish my delivery app side hustle, I decide to hit our guy up. To my surprise, he wants to talk business, which is only slightly disappointing, but we listen regardless. Glasses and I decide that the best way to draw out Jungkook and his army of simps is to make a commotion in the city bigger than the Hangover Part 2.
And you don't seem to understand. A shame you seem an honest man. And all the fears you hold today will turn to whisper in your ear.
The strategy works beautifully, as Bro gets so angry, he leaves the familiar but cozy, comfortable castle, also known as the BTS Twitter page. Me and the boys raid his luxurious pad, and we send him a selfie, where I take all his bitches. Infuriated by the fact that a 50-year-old man stole his stance, Jungkook invites Japanese Jim Carrey and I to his evil lair, as a last-ditch effort to secure his now tarnished pretty boy status. It's at this point where we have another drawn-out long battle, but luckily for us, the Uber Eats money has been paying off some sweet dividends. We eventually get to Jungkook and have a dramatic fight scene in a bloody inferno. We end up decimating him yet again, a little too hard if you ask me, and Tsuruno sets up what can only be considered to be the finale. Chapter 5 begins with another exposition drop. And I know I've been saying this for like every chapter, but really, this game is supposed to be a filler game, so excuse me for my repetition here. But, like I said, Chapter 5 has a final exposition drop. where they cover the events of Yakuza 7 and where Ichiban was during this time and where Kiryu was during this time. And as soon as we get up to speed by Surano, who informs Kiryu about Ichiban's influence during the dissolution, which makes sense because it's a little weird how in Like a Dragon, Kiryu just takes a shine to Ichiban without much context, and this game pretty much elaborates on that. But anyway, after the upteenth lore drop, we are given a little free time before commencing the final mission. And during this time I make sure that I'm all good and ready by unlocking all the damage and health upgrades possible during this run, as well as some Kiwami bonuses for good measure. So when Watase finally gets out of prison, his first thought, for some fucking reason, is to get some Peter Griffin outfit inspo, and then decides to meet up with Kiryu, Shishido, Surano, and the rest of the Watase family to discuss the dissolution. But the mask over here reveals his true intentions when he starts his Instagram live and exposes Oriental Peter Griffin to the entire Omi Alliance. And, get this, turns out our favorite BTS member has the durability of a fucking cockroach and has more plot armor than Wolverine. But after the Burst Bros finish their song and dance routine, a giant fight breaks out in the construction site like it's West Side Story or some shit. Here I struggled just a bit due to both Nishitani and Shishido being big damage dealers in the construction site, if you're not careful. But after some cheese, I split them up and finished this fight without much difficulty. After the brawl, J. Peter Griffin over here finds his proverbial chicken, takes a sucker stabbing. But he shrugs it off, as Jungkook is finally thwarted with brain damage, as that is literally the only way to stop bro, because he will just not give up. He was tenacious, I'll give him that, but let's see how that tenacity holds up when he turned to a fucking vegetable. As Watase gets mended by our homie Hanua, we dust ourselves off, switch suits, and head over to Omi HQ to finally write the epitaph on the Yakuza grave. But as it turns out, the wounds are too fresh for the Omi to bear, as all hell breaks loose within the HQ. Luckily, we literally have the stat cast of the franchise to cushion the blow, as another brawl breaks out. After finally calming the Omi during their tantrum, Kiryu tips his cap to Kasuga as he heads out to catch up with the rest of the cast. Thinking they've won the day, Majima suggests they grab some grub, because conflict makes him hungry, but as a bruised and battered Shishido pulls up, that quickly switches their priorities. Kiryu already knows that Shishido is the type to not go down without a fight, and knowing how men are when they're put into a corner they can't get out of, he decides to take it upon himself to finish him. It's at this point that we see Daigo, Saejima, Majima, and Kiryu go full Yakuza reminiscent of the early days. But after we're done fucking shit up, it's time to silence Shishido. Kiryu finds him outside the Omi HQ, and upon entering, Shishido asks Kiryu why he doesn't share his sentiment about preserving the Yakuza, and calls Kiryu out for being a hypocrite, for thinking he's above what he once was. Kiryu silences him by spitting some straight facts about the reality of the situation.
そんなもんだ。
せやったらなんで大解散なんぞに手貸したんや。なんで俺らからヤクザの夢奪ったんや。
簡単だ。俺らヤクザモンが持っている夢なんてのは毎日を必死に生きている人たちの夢に比べたらゴミみたいなもんだからだ。
The final boss is rightfully tough, as it took me 30 minutes to complete this without using any items. The biggest struggle of this fight was the amount of phases. I believe he had 4 or 5 phases during this fight, and he has an unblockable heavy attack that literally takes half your health, so you gotta be careful. But if you just use extreme heat mode like I did here, keep dodging, you eventually get the hang of it. But that's not to say this challenge wasn't without its difficulties though. God damn! I did die like 6-7 times, I don't even know. But much like Kiryu, we power through it, no problem. But as we sleep Shishido, we also sleep the last hope for the Yakuza. as Watase and Daigo's plan is realized. And with that, Kiryu walks off into the sunset with his friends as the challenge officially comes to an end. So there you have it, guys. Like a Dragon, agent only. I just want to start by saying I'm not the first one to do this challenge, as I do want to give credit for Flash Jesus for doing this challenge first on YouTube. Go check out his video, it's pretty cool. But I also wanted to put my own little spin on this challenge, as I feel like this game reignited my passion for the franchise. The way this game's recurring theme of passing the torch and how it's executed feels natural and encapsulates everything that made the prior Yakuza games so special, in my opinion. The game's shorter length is a nice change of pace, due to this game being a placeholder game that I'm sure sets up the story of Infinite Wealth, where the direction of the franchise will basically be going in a new direction indefinitely. But with that being said, I truly hope all of those who stumble upon this video had a good time watching me express my love for the game. For this franchise truly did impact my life for the better. Again, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Leave a comment and a like, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. See ya.
Quiero desmocho por